We've been sharing a lot of videos about the statistics of international students here in Canada, and we found out that there are over 500,000 international students that are coming to Canada every single year.
Over 500,000 students every year. And imagine, almost 50% of those are choosing Ontario. In this video, we'll share some facts with you of why you should choose other provinces instead. Canada has a population of 38 million people, and 40% of those are living in Ontario. 40% of those are living in the Greater Toronto Area. This means that this region of Canada is highly oversaturated. And that means that all these people, over 6 million people in the GTA, have to share limited resources such as housing, job opportunities. The tuition fees are usually higher in Ontario, and when it comes to scholarships, it's highly competitive if your school is in Ontario. We actually moved to Toronto after graduating in Nova Scotia, and we experienced how busy it is, and it is busy. There are just so many people there. There is so much traffic. The famous highway that goes through Toronto, the 401, has been rated the busiest highways of North America several times. And remember, there are cities like New York or Los Angeles in North America as well. And after 3 months, we actually decided that it's too much for us, and we kept moving west. If you are moving to a place, or if you're deciding to go to Ontario, do your research first.
I have experienced driving on 401, and I find it crazy, especially for me who's a new driver. And if you don't want to be stuck in traffic all day, you can get on the paid highway. And mind you that the car insurance in the GTA is way higher compared to in other provinces. So this will lead me to my next point, which is the cost of living. If you are thinking to rent a one-bedroom apartment, you are expected to pay about 2,000 Canadian dollars for a one-bedroom apartment. And if you want to buy a house, that's about 1.3 million. So this can be challenging for international student like you, especially you cannot work full-time. So if you are paying for your rent and at the same time pay an international student fee, it is challenging because you don't have access to student loans or any financial aids.
I still remember looking for an apartment when we moved to Toronto, and honestly, it felt like applying for a job. It was so hard, even though we were just looking for a basement apartment, which is the cheapest place you can rent. For example, they wanted to see several references, proof of employment for both of us, bank statements, and even postponed checks. Checks that you sign into the future for 1 year. So even if you move out, you have to pay for the whole year.
Yeah, and we have not experienced that in Nova Scotia or even here in British Columbia. So I also have an experience with my student when he went here to Canada. He initially had a sponsor who will provide the accommodation, but then he backed out, and now he's paying for about $500 per month without a bed. So international students, or not just international students, even new immigrants are prone to exploitation when it comes to housing. So know your rights, and if you feel like you are mistreated, make sure that you seek for support. Since the GTA is overpopulated, it can be harder for you to get a job in that area. And sometimes you need to be highly skilled to get a job that is eligible for permanent residency. We actually made a video about that here. You can watch it after this video. But if you're thinking to immigrate after graduation, you might want to check if you are really in demand in Ontario. So for example, if you are comparing Ontario Provincial Nominee Program versus the BCPNP, it is harder to get in through the OINP because one of the employer's requirement is that the business has to make around 500,000, whereas in BCPNP, they don't actually have a cap. So the business needs to have 3 employees, and at least they're running for at least 3 years. In BCPNP, they only require the business to run for over a year. So sometimes you have to get a job in healthcare or trades or even in IT sector. So I have few friends living in Ontario that have been waiting for their permanent residency for almost 4 years now. So just be mindful when it comes to the in-demand jobs that Ontario are looking for. I hope you guys like this video and you find it helpful when it comes to deciding if Ontario is for you. If you're thinking about British Columbia, don't forget to watch the next one because I talk about the truth about living in BC. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!